Hey guys, Michael England here, AudioSway Labs. Today we're talking about miking a kick drum. Now, I'm in a relatively smaller sized room here, about 12 by 12, 12 by 13, and we're going to talk about how to get the best results from miking a drum kit in a small space. Now, I generally like to use two microphones on the kick drum. The reason for that is I want to get one pointed toward the beater head, which is the beater that kicks into the drum itself on the backside. Then I like to do another mic for the resonance head to get some of that oomph and that kind of room resonation that comes off of the kick drum. Now, what a lot of people will make the mistake of is putting the kick drum mic, say like here's your hole, your port, they put it inside the port. And what that does is it picks up all of this extra unwanted low-end information that just causes a rumble, and you have to cut that stuff out as you EQ it. You'll find that your kick drum sounds muffled and you don't understand why. And so you can't get enough out of the kick drum mic. So first I'm going to start with the mics that I personally like to use. Now, a Beta 52 by Shure is a good mic. It's a good kick drum mic. My favorite, however, is the AKG D112. Really good sounding kick mic to get the beater head with. It gives you a nice bit of click, gives you some good oomph. Really good sounding all around mic, and they're only about 170 bucks. Here's another one that I'll use from time to time, especially doing metal. It's the Audix D6. Really nice sounding mic, especially for metal bands. You can use a lot of different mics. I mean, Sennheiser makes the 604, which is a really good sounding mic. You'll see like the RE20 by AKG. I mean, honestly, if it comes down to it and it's all you've got, you can even use an SM57 to mic the batter head, the beater head on the kick drum. You're not going to get as much low end, so you're going to have to EQ in a little bit of that, but you can get the job done. Don't let anybody tell you you can't. You could mic the entire kit with 57s and get a good drum sound. It's all in the technique and your use of mic placement. So let's take a look now at the kick drum itself and see how I would generally mic it up. Alright guys, so hopefully this is a good angle where you can see what I'm doing. Now you'll see I have two of these smaller mic stands. That's generally what I like to use when I'm going for the kick drum. The reason why is because they're lower, they're not going to be booms that are coming in and getting in the way of stuff, but you're going to have an ease of reach. So the first thing I'm going to do is take my D112, and as I said, you can use any mic you want. You could even use a 57 if that's all you've got. And I'll show with a 57 here in just a second. So what I do is I take my AKG and I'm going to position it so that it's not inside the kick. Because like I said, if it gets inside the kick drum, say if you did it like this, what you're going to end up is this really woofy sound that you're going to have to EQ out. So what I'm going to do, lift this up just a hair, right about there, and I'm going to position it so that it's not inside the kick drum and it's aimed right at the beater on the back side. And that's going to give me that attack of the kick drum. That's where the attack is going to come from. Now for my Rezo head mic, I generally like to use these guys right here. Here's one. I keep several of these. It's a Sennheiser E609. Sometimes you'll see these on a live show just draped over the front of the guitar. The nice thing about these is they're not expensive mics. They have a bigger dynamic range a little bit than, say, a SM57, and they're flat, so they're easy to place. And what I'll normally do is put my resonance head mic right about there. And what that's going to do for me is just pick up this, the air coming off of that beater right there, or that reso head, the resonance head. And so generally my kick setup is going to look like this. Now you could use, for this mic, I mean, you can go all out. You could use a Neumann U87 if you wanted to, but I find that these guys actually really sound good. And they're inexpensive mics. You know, you're talking for a Sennheiser E609, maybe 120 bucks, 130, you know, it just depends on where you get it and when. But they're great value mics, and they're going to sound great because, as I said, you're just getting that resonance coming off of the front of the kick head. Now let's say I don't have an AKG, and I just need to use the old tried and true SM57. What I would do in that instance is I would get it just the same mic placement as the AKG. Now you see, it's not inside the head. It's just poking in enough. So there's the head and the front of the 57. It's just enough to capture the attack of that beater and a little bit of the air coming out. Perfectly good mic to use. You could use an SM57 for both if you would like. There are no rules. That's what's beautiful about recording. There are no rules. There are just good techniques to use and bad techniques to use. And the reason why is because you're capturing sounds. People may say, well, what about phasing and all of that? Miking a kick drum like this, and you'll find most people mic it this way. I've never run into phasing issues here. Generally, when you're going to run into phasing issues, let's say I was capturing two mics with the same signal, aka the resonance head. Now, first of all, you'd never do this. There's not a reason to. But in this instance, you would have to line up the capsules of the two mics to receive the information or the sound at the same time. Otherwise, you would run into phasing issues. Basically, they would start canceling each other out. So it would make it sound thin, and you may have to flip the phase on one or adjust the microphones. But as I said, that's going to be covered more as we get into overheads and as we get into the snare miking and things like that. Maybe the guitar amp mics. Some of the techniques I use there. But that'll do for now on the kick drum. Hope you find this information helpful, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.